Welcome back to another take from We Killin' It.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Matt.
Kindy.
Before we go in today's episode, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you so much for listening, squad, and for helping this show by liking on YouTube or leaving a 5-star ratings and positive review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show get on the charts and for more people like us to discover it. So thank you again so very much.
And without further ado, on to the fun.
What is going on, squad? Today we're on part 2 of the 3-part series we're going to do on the M. Night comic verse. Today's episode is on Split, a 2016 M. Night Shyamalan film starring James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, Betty Buckley, Jessica Sula, and Haley Lou Richardson. The director of photography is Mike, and I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, Gilakis, and it is a Blumhouse production. Now, I would like to start this episode off with a series of spoiler warnings, as well as a couple of trigger warnings. This film shows captivity, inappropriate conduct with a child, sexual assault, and murder, as well as someone battling with dissociative identity disorder, or DID. Now, there is a 16-year gap between this movie and the last one, and luckily, you didn't have to wait that long.
Yeah. That would not be ideal.
No, that's definitely not the strat.
No.
It's hard. It was a hard watch the first go around when there was so much space between the movies.
Oh,
So,
yeah, for sure.
jeez. Like, wait, why are we here? What? No, I gotta watch it again.
The film starts off with a birthday party for Claire, who is played by Haley Lou Richardson. Her classmate Casey, who is the incredible Anya Taylor-Joy, was invited out of pity. Claire tells her father that Casey frequently gets into trouble with teachers and is like sent to detention all the time. I really love how nice the dad is. Like, the girls are like an interesting version of a mean girl, but I mean,
Yeah.
at least like they invited Casey.
So he's kind of proud, kind of worried.
A little disappointed, a little bit
He's
of
just
all of it.
he's just like, come on, guys. Like,
I
I
can't
raised
just
you better
leave her
than
here.
this.
Right.
Like, even the visual framing they did there at the first scene, she's at the end of the table, everyone's talking and having fun. There's a plant between the audience and the actor. So there's just a huge gap between how she connects with people.
Oh, for sure. Casey calls for a ride home, but is told the car broke down. She offers to take the bus, but Claire's dad insists that she go home with them.
Yeah. He's like, nah, I'm not leaving you here.
Like, you're not taking the bus, bro. I've got a car. The girls leave along with another friend, Marcia, who is played by Jessica Sula. Claire's dad is approached by an unseen person. Kevin didn't kill the father, he just knocked him out. And moments later, a man, Kevin, or James McAvoy, gets into a car. It took like the girls so long to notice that Kevin was in the car. Because
They're just talking.
yeah, because I mean, Casey noticed right away. But
Oh, yeah.
but like
She saw the food knocked over out back.
yeah, but the other two girls in the back, like, they were talking for a good whole minute before they even realized that this was a different dude.
Yeah, they were like, excuse me, sir.
It's
got
so
the wrong car.
surreal.
And then why was Dennis ignoring Casey in the car? Is what I
Because
don't get.
if you later on in the film, it's actually mentioned that not Kevin, but that Dennis had been watching the girls for a long period of time. He had scoped them out and been collecting data and watching them to find the right moment for them to strike.
I believe for 4 days, he said.
Yeah, so I think
wow.
that Casey wasn't part of the initial numbers, and she wasn't a threat until she went to open the door.
Ah.
Yeah, so Casey slowly attempts to open the door to get out, but as soon as she tries to open it, Kevin gets her too. He uses some type of toxin or spray to knock them out. Uh, Kevin,
It's wild. It works so fast.
it works
Yeah.
so fast. And when the old lady wakes up after it, she's all groggy and messed up too. So like it looks like it like does a number on you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is pretty smart. Maybe it's some cocktail of his own to knock you out.
Oof.
Bro, that's so
That'd be
scary.
scary.
That's so scary. Kevin brings the girls into a windowless room in an unknown location. Right away, Casey tells Marcia to pee herself. I really love how collected Casey is. She pays
Right.
attention to her surroundings and she really does seem to know like the best choices to make.
Right, because she's seeing Dennis here. We don't know that it's his name yet, but he is Dennis. He's more of a strict and OCD germaphobe, as we can see, because he's always wiping shit down before or wiping stuff down before he's touching anything like doors. He brings a
Mm-hmm.
chair into the room before he takes one of them, and he's wiping off the chair before he sits down and everything. And he's just like, okay, I want you first. And then that's when he's taking the girl, she's fighting back and runs up to Casey. And that's when she's like, you gotta pee yourself because she knows that he's a germaphobe. He's gonna absolutely freak out if she pees on herself.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. She gets away and she comes back all covered in piss, but the guy's like, Jesus Christ, and this throws her back into the room.
I don't know what civilians do, but I've been to a couple of military like briefings where they are explaining like if somebody's trying to do something to you that you don't want them to do, pee or defecate on yourself, and that will like give you a moment to slip.
It
It's really
might.
right. It might give you a moment to slip, and it's just really cool that I don't know, like a 16-year-old girl knew that information already.
More
Yeah.
more sad than cool.
Well, you're right. It's a sad comment on our on our society.
Yeah.
So Claire goes, "We should fight him," and that is not the response. Like, not at all.
I
And
took karate.
For
yeah, it's
six
like I
months
took
of
like
half a class.
I took Kempo at the Y. uh, Claire, she tells the other that Kevin, when Marcia comes back into the room, she tells the others that Kevin wanted her to dance for him. And later we find out that Barry, or not Barry, but that Dennis, who is like Matt said, he's OCD and a germaphobe, but he's also a rapist and a murderer. And one of his things is he likes to force young girls to dance for him, and that's what he was trying to do with Marcia. Ugh, it's so gross. It's just so gross. Claire says they need to fight back together to get out. But Casey is calm and she says they need to find out what they are there for before they can make any sort of move. We need to figure out why we're here before we can figure out how we're going to get out.
Right. You need to be able to find what he's looking after so you can work around it.
You have to get more information before you start just running at doors.
Mhm.
Exactly. Pretty soon after this, we see a flashback in which a 5-year-old Casey, she's played by Izzy Lee Coffey, is with her father, played by Sebastian Arcelius, and her Uncle John, Brad William Henke. And I know you heard me hesitate there, but I didn't want to call him John because he's just a gross, gross person. They
Yeah.
are
Straight
they're
to the
both
chair.
straight to the chair.
Man.
They are both hunters and they teach Casey how to hunt. Uncle John talks about hunting a deer, but being distracted by the buck. They do a good job of showing Casey's past and showing how she would turn into a natural survivor.
She had a lot of stealth instincts and strategy. taught to her at a very early age.
And just gun training.
And you can really tell. I mean, I know most fathers love their daughters, but you can really tell, like, he really loves his little girl and he really loves spending time with his girl. It's kind of a cute little moment that we get to
He's
see.
he's just so happy that she finally wanted to come out with him and do this with her.
Yeah. So, a therapist, Dr. Fletcher, played by Betty Buckley, is watching a news report on the three missing girls and how Claire's father woke up to find the girls and his car gone. Dr. Fletcher then receives an email from someone named Barry saying that they need to speak and it's urgent. Barry is really one of Kevin's multiple personalities. In fact, this alter is a sketch artist with a heavy Boston accent. He meets with Dr. Fletcher regularly in this persona. Dr. Fletcher ignores so many signs when we see her with Kevin for the first time, and she keeps mentioning things that are weird to her. And I feel that as a doctor, so concerned with DID, that she would be paying way more attention to these signs.
Right. She would
Definitely.
definitely already know. Like she would be able to, especially if it's her patient from multiple appointments ago before this, like off screen. Like she should know. Like she even stated that she was concerned, and she just completely just okay, whatever. Once he said, "I'm doing great."
Yeah. She's just like, all right, bye. It was a mistake. In my opinion, it was a mistake to just let it go. She should have brought it up and she should have tried to push a little more. But I'm not a therapist or a psychologist. I'm not even smart enough to be one. So it's just my opinion.
So like she's got her misgivings about it, but she seems to not trust her instinct. It's like she's not quite sure she's talking to. She's pretty sure it's not Barry, but until she can put a name to it for some or to the person she was talking to rather, she doesn't want to really say anything, which I don't know if that's just her experience there or working with his alters.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like she moved way too slow on it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Especially with her opinions that she brings up about how their mental state can be an empowerment.
Hmm.
So Candy brought up, we're not supposed to talk about the movie when we watch the movie, but sometimes it's hard. And Candy brought up a point kind of later in this film, but it does have to do with what we're talking about. When she's in that conference and she's talking about how like they're like what they believe is real. And then, later she's like, this can't be real. There has to be limits. And like
Right.
this again is another a point of her where she like studies this thing so completely, but she looks
Still
past
misses it.
exactly. The girls, we cut to back into this hell room with the girls continuing to try to find a way out. They look through a crack in the door and see what appears to be a woman talking to their captor. Claire and Marcia immediately call out to the woman for help, and we hear her say, Jesus, how many do you have in there? She approaches the door, but then we find out it's just Kevin wearing a skirt and high heels. This alter is known as Patricia, a polite and very respectable British woman.
I am gonna
Patricia,
say
Little bit
Kevin
twisted.
a little twisted,
Kevin but Kevin does kill it in that skirt and high heels.
bro. For real, for real. James McAvoy does kind of look good in that outfit with the turtleneck.
My favorite one is later in the movie with her Shaw.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I like that we don't ever see Patricia in the type of clothes that we probably should be seeing her in, but like she's so buttoned up. Like even when she like comes out and she's wearing just that button-up shirt and she like closes it and fixes it more so that it goes all the way to the neck. Like this is a proper lady. You know what I mean?
Modest
Yeah.
lady. Like
Yep. Yep.
she's really sweet, but kind of twisted and mm.
Patricia assures the girls that their captor knows why they are here and that he is not allowed to touch them. Oof. It's scary. The whole like
Mm.
with the look on their faces when they see Miss Patricia, like, oh,
They're all in the corners of the room, like they're hugging
yeah,
walls right
They
now.
backed
yeah,
away. It
yeah.
was unsettling
There
for
is a
them.
shock. Like they were expecting to see a woman, and when they saw Kevin, it was just a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
Ugh.
just oh no.
I
So,
really love how quick Casey seems to like just take it in and be like, okay, that's a new wrinkle.
well, this one is different. Got it.
All right, go for your conference via Skype.
Okay, so from there, after we get through Patricia's entrance, we see the same therapist, Dr. Fletcher, who was talking to Barry, talking in a Zoom call to these to an audience in an auditorium, and there were also some other doctors, it looked like, on podiums. And the quote here, she's talking about DID and how she believes that their minds may be more than the normal human because they can unlock certain potentials that we cannot. And here it is. One identity is an individual with dissociative identity disorder, can have high cholesterol. One, there have been cases where one identity is allergic to bee stings and the others are not. And then one of the doctors comes up with a question. And this is, are there moments where two identities can coexist at the same time? She replies, there are times when two identities can take the light or the spot or consciousness at the same time. This happened with a student that I was working with, and her left and right hand were taking notes in different handwritings about separate things at the same time. The differences in identities can be dramatic, as much as the difference between you and me and every person in that auditorium. The identities have different IQs, they have different physical strengths. One personality is a Russian weightlifter that can lift 3 times his body weight. Their ability to hyper focus and have different experiences is astounding. Have these individuals, through their suffering, unlock the potential of the brain? Is this the ultimate doorway to all things we call unknown? Is this where our sense of the supernatural comes from? It's about its depths and curves.
It's very interesting to me because this is kind of like the placebo effect, but like times 100. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you believe it, you can do it.
Right. Exactly. Or the mother lifting the car off the baby.
Right.
It's that inner
That
part of
push.
our brain saying you can do this, so just do it, and they do
Right.
it, you know.
I have this theory, where it's basically along the lines of this. We evolve out of necessity, and if as long as you can, really focus and convince yourself what is necessary, as what these personalities are doing. Kevin is convincing himself that these personalities are necessary to be who he is and what he is. So they're
Yeah.
just manifesting out of it. If you can do that with anything, then you can do anything.
Yep. Casey talks to Hedwig in an attempt to get out of there by telling him that Patricia and Dennis are still mad at him and that he's in trouble.
I love how she does this because she like she's like, wait, don't go. I'll tell you something. Like, I know something. Come here and I'll whisper it to you. And he's just like, what? And this entire
He's
this
so
entire
cute.
He's real
is
cute.
but this entire time that he's like all the way over in the middle of the room now, I just think that the other girls there could have just got in there,
Yeah.
and then you know Claire's a badass. She probably could have thrown little 9-year-old Hedwig off of her and then run in there, and then they could have locked him in there.
Because we do see later that Hedwig is like trying to push the door open and he can't. And then when he switches to Dennis, he just slides those, like the two girls, like right out of
They
the
just
way.
er.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's
Um,
weird how his personalities change his physicals, and that's what the doctor is talking about as well. Because there's one personality, I don't remember the name exactly, but they have type 2
diabetes.
diabetes,
Yeah,
and they have to take insulin, but no other personalities need to
that's
do that.
that's Jade. Yeah, Jade has diabetes. So I think it's also you got to take a second to give James McAvoy all of the acting chops. I like all of them. I like he when Casey tells Hedwig that he's in trouble, tears fall from Hedwig's eyes, and like there's like this look of
Immediately.
yeah, there's this look of shame on his face, and it's just like if you were to tell a little boy he was in trouble and that he had done
Mhm.
something wrong,
Mhm.
and James McAvoy destroyed all of these
And
roles.
the coolest thing about his tears too, he didn't have to squint his eyes in any way, nothing.
No,
Like you could not see that he was making those come out. Like it looked like a natural cry from a little boy.
yeah,
Just all slow and pitiful, and you're just like, oh damn, this is
Yeah,
hurting
because
my
he's
this is not
so
hurting my
excited.
Fifi's hurting him.
yeah,
He's so excited to have people to talk to. He's like really morally gray about their situation. I think
yeah.
that's kind of a crossover of his age and survival instinct because he's just making the most of or the
He
best of
just
his
wants friends,
situation. And he wants friends.
I do
man.
think it's cool about his power though. He has the power to take the light at any time. So
Hmm.
he can just step in and become Hedwig whenever he wants.
It's neat.
And
Mhm.
I think later on we see that he's the only one that has a room out of all the personalities.
Mhm.
And I think like my little theory on this is that, he switches to Hedwig whenever he wants, and then he's just slowly built up his room, and then he goes and just plays in there with all his toys or does whatever he wants until someone is just like, okay, give me the light.
Yeah, it's
He's the
neat.
baby. He gets to, yeah,
He gets to play
he
around.
gets priority.
Yeah.
After this, Hedwig leaves and the girls start looking for a way out through the walls. Claire finds a hollow spot in the ceiling and starts breaking off the plaster. Hedwig starts to come back, but Casey and Marcia hold the door back as Claire tries climbing out. And it's so funny because we see Claire huck herself from a full hang all the way up into the vent twice because she fell the first time.
In
So
Yeah.
what
after
world?
doing it the first time, she had enough strength to do it again. And I understand emotional strength, and I understand
Survival strength.
survival instincts and everything, but like
But
I'll
She
like,
buy
turned
it.
into a feral
is she
cat
a
and started
cheerleader
jumping.
maybe? I
I'll
don't know what
buy
she does at
it.
school.
She was also in heels. Remember
Yeah,
that to get extra height to reach the vent. She
man.
was jumping on a bed in heels and landing in heels.
So Kevin reverts back to Dennis as Claire starts crawling through the vents, and then he pushes the door, and they literally just slide out of the way.
Yeah,
There
just
is a huge strength difference between Hedwig and Dennis.
yeah.
She finds an
Oh,
exit and starts running for what?
the exit, man. I was just so disappointed in the exit. Like, how you gonna drop out of the first vent hole you see?
The very I would have I told you I would have slept in that vent and waited like 2 hours because he wouldn't have looked in the vent. Like I would
I
have
would have been
waited
there
like
for at
two
least a
hours.
day, bro. At least 24 hours. I'd be like, okay, he not here no more. Or I'll wait to hear him leave and I'll be like, okay, let's move a few feet.
Sneak, sneak, sneak. Don't be
So
suspicious. Don't
she
be
drops
suspicious.
down and hides in what we find out later to be Kevin's locker. She
Why are you gonna get in a metal box that echoes everything?
Right.
right,
She's over
because
here like,
her trembling breath is so loud that it alerts Kevin or
Like
Dennis, I'm sorry.
he ran past full tilt and
Yep.
still heard her turned around like,
he was like, wait a minute, that didn't sound like my breath. What the fuck?
he pulls Claire out of the locker and he tells her to take off of her shirt because it's dirty. And this isn't the first time that he's done this. And I understand it's part of his OCD, but I can't figure out if it's part of his OCD and it's because he's a pervert or what. But
Well, he was kind of ashamed of it too. He was like, please, just please take it off.
He doesn't want to
Like
get in trouble
yeah, that's true.
because the
because they
others will get
were,
upset at him, and the girls are there for a specific purpose. He mentions a couple times, "I'm trying to be good." Miss Patricia got after him.
Yeah, Miss Patricia did get after him.
She's like, "Don't you dare! That is not for you." Like, oh,
and then the doctor also says that in like when the others have talked to her or something, I think through the emails, they said that Dennis had been trying to get better for a long time with little success.
mm,
Yeah, because
he
he knows what he
recognizes
does
it.
is wrong.
Yeah.
He just can't help it. Well, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So he then locks Claire in a room by herself. She no longer is in the same area as Casey and Marcia. I would say that to me, from an acting standpoint, Hedwig is definitely the most impressive character. There is the random things that Hedwig says and the reactions that he makes make me forget that I am looking at a man playing a child. And I just see the child.
very immersive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Just
Casey's so damn smart.
She strategizes and flows with them really
Ex-
well.
exactly. And she actually understands how to get an emotional response from Hedwig.
she's playing in with him very well to get his trust slowly, even if he is having doubts.
Hmm.
I will say in that shot when I'm sorry, when Claire is inside the locker and that shot where it's like through the vent holes of the locker. I've seen that in other movies and I always love it. Like that's just such a suspenseful and scary shot.
Just is he almost here? My
Yeah.
God, where is
And
he?
like where Dennis is keeping these people, where Kevin lives, there's literally no concept of time. Like I lived in a basement apartment one time where like there were no windows. It was so hard to wake up in the morning because you just had no concept of time.
Right.
So like I couldn't, and then when he locks Claire inside that room, that light's just on. So like there's no like that sounds it's awful. Like it'd be hard to sleep. It'd be hard to and when you wake up, you wouldn't know what time it is. It just that whole concept loss of time is that would be terrible.
It would be so disorienting and exhausting.
Honestly, it seemed like Casey was the only one who was able to sleep through it all, though.
Yeah.
Because,
She's
the
used to
other,
camping.
And
yeah,
Dennis has a really good line at this point because he goes, you shouldn't trick children. That shows who you are.
yeah,
Because to them that personality is a child because they're all sitting in that circle of chairs and they all see each other when they're not in the light.
Right.
It's a cool it's a
He
full
is a
painted
child.
picture.
He
Like
hasn't.
this film is like a full painted picture. We get like if there's a question there's an answer. In another session with Dr. Fletcher, Kevin returns as Dennis playing Barry. Dr. Fletcher doesn't believe she's really talking to Barry. She has noticed certain characteristics that Barry is displaying normally seen in other alters like Dennis, such as OCD. Barry insists that he's gotten better. Dr. Fletcher then mentions that Kevin has 23 distinct identities. Kevin then becomes Dennis, as Dr. Fletcher mentions the 24th identity, the Beast. And she also had to kind of stroke Dennis's ego a little bit in order to get Dennis to come out. Because when he drops the act, he sits up so straight and he's
yeah.
He
just so
changes.
touched. He does. He's so touched because, the Dr. Fletcher talks about how like you guys were necessary for Kevin to be able to survive a terrible childhood and to survive that horrible mother. And Dennis is proud of that, you know, because that was his job. That's the reason he was created.
He's been helping Kevin since Kevin was 3. He might be the very first one. I'm not sure if they go over who was first or what, but
The way it's spoken, I think Dennis is the first one. I'd say this
Yeah.
conversation between Dr. Fletcher and Dennis is really incredible. And like McAvoy's action is just it's chef's kiss. Like it's mwah. Like it awesome. Awesome. So Patricia brings Casey and Marcia out for some food. And this whole scene is real weird.
I think she tried to mother hen them, like I calmed them down.
Marcia is forced to remove her skirt, and Casey takes off her flannel shirt. Patricia brings the girls into a dining room and starts to make another sandwich. She says, I've heard Asian people's music can aid in digestion. And I was curious if that was just like a weird statement. And I actually found a research study stating that slow music can stimulate relaxation and digestion, where fast music can stimulate your fight or flight reflex, making digestion more difficult. Slow music can cause you to eat slower, and fast music can encourage you to eat more.
She's trying to calm them down by being just the motherly calming presence, but she's also trying to use the music too to help that atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
That's
she lights
interesting.
candles all the time.
Mm-hmm. Bro,
She
but I mean,
does.
candles do smell good. We got some today. They hit the spot.
For real. They're awesome.
Uh, so she becomes upset when she accidentally cuts the sandwich crookedly, which is interesting because that means that she too also has a scotch of OCD.
Man, she gets upset
Bro,
too.
she
Like,
chops that knife hard. Whop.
No, I think they're sharing. She and Dennis are sharing in the kitchen. Dennis was upset because she apologizes after he says that and starts over.
Oh, so you're saying you think that the two of them were there together sharing the light?
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
I didn't even key that they were doing that together.
me
And they've
neither.
totally foreshadowed that by talking about it.
Yep. Dang,
Wow.
nice catch, Kendi. Nice catch. Once Patricia starts making the second sandwich, Marcia seizes the opportunity to take the chair and strike Patricia in the back with it, which it was smart. She runs
It,
out for help, and Casey tries to run too, but Patricia like moves the table in front of her and was like, "Go to your room." And then Casey, you watch Casey because like Casey is kind of a victim in life, so she understands how to
Avoid
survived
trouble.
the next.
survive. Yeah, so she follows instructions and heads to her room. um
Dennis takes over.
yeah, Dennis takes over and chases after Marcia, and Marcia is eventually caught as well and locked in the room by herself right next to Casey. No, right next to Claire.
I was also just gonna point out as a dislike for this film. After she gets her skirt taken away, she's literally just half naked for the rest of her capture. Yeah, or no.
Well, I know she's an actor and like she's acting, but like she looks like she's just super uncomfortable for the rest of the film.
Like,
Yeah.
why didn't they give her some of Patricia's clothes? Or some of the clothes that Barry's making?
Why didn't Casey take off that like oversized zip sweater she had so she could tie it around her waist? Because like if I was
That's
Casey, that's what I
hers.
would have done, because Casey had like 36 shirts on.
I just want to like I was like thinking in my head, oh, okay, he's gonna wash their clothes because he's got OCD and doesn't like gross things. No, he never gave them back.
Those clothes were gone.
I find Miss Patricia so damn interesting. After all of this, she does a line, and I'm gonna let Matt read it because he wanted to look it up.
It is, and she says this. Ooh,
Oh yeah, so after this, tells she tells her to put her hands in contrition, which I wasn't sure what that meant, but it sounded cool. And then you see you see her walking like a nun with her hands together in prayer
yeah.
form. I was like, that's interesting.
whilst Patricia has her walking in contrition, she's she says this prayer that we've heard her say like 2 or 3 times now before, and it is, "In the sun we find our passion, in the sun we find our purpose." I found that in a greeting card at the supermarket. It was for a funeral, but I thought it was beautiful.
So she's sweet. She's a little twisted. Eh, she's
uh,
doing the best she can with the cards she was dealt.
after this, it goes back to Dr. Fletcher, and it's kind of like right after quote unquote Barry left the Dr. Fletcher's office, and it's her and her assistant Jai, who's the Hooters guy, and this is another one of M. Night Shyamalan's Stan Lee moments. It's kind of great because like they're just literally at the beginning of it, they're literally he's just like talking about how great Hooters is, and Dr. Fletcher's like, dude, it's not that great. Like,
Bro.
You're gonna poison me with these chicken wings you reheated.
So they review some security footage outside the building, and a trash bin is knocked over and garbage is spilled everywhere. One couple walks around it, but Dennis walks right through it, which is something Dr. Fletcher believes is like an act. It's something deliberate that he wanted to prove a point that he was not OCD. And after this, we see Hedwig, or, Casey's all alone now. Casey is 100% in this room by herself. We cut in and Hedwig is cuddling. He is like spooning Casey. Casey like opens her eyes to
Wakes
wake up,
up.
and James McAvoy as Hedwig is spooning her so hard. He asks to kiss her, and she allows him to, though it's real awkward. And Hedwig then mentions his music collection and how he likes to dance to some Kanye West.
Their kiss is kind of Barbie doll.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
yeah, it's just it's so freaking awkward.
And then he as seriously as a little 9-year-old can say is, you might be pregnant. And
Might be
I just
pregnant
lose
now.
I lose it every time because he's just so sincere.
It's so cute.
I'm like,
You might be
oh,
pregnant now.
You might be pregnant now.
this baby.
Man.
I didn't use my mouth condom.
So Casey asked him to show her his room and show her his music collection. And he takes her there, and she mentions a window, or he had mentioned a window, and so she brings it up, and we find out that Hedwig's window is a drawing. That's
And he's
right.
got another one under it for the open window.
That's right. He has a drawing of a closed window, and it's taped. So if you move the first paper, there's a picture of an open window, which if this really was a 9-year-old
It's just
boy,
so sad.
that would have been hella cute. Okay.
It's cute, but it's also sad. It's like, I just wanted a window to look out.
Man. So Hedwig starts to realize that Casey's not there to dance to Kanye West. She's there to escape. She becomes frightened and attempts to placate him. He pulls out a walkie-talkie, and Casey slaps Hedwig so hard.
Bro.
You literally watch McAvoy's face turn 180 degrees. It's awesome.
Bro, just
and then Casey uses the walkie-talkie to start calling for help while fighting off Hedwig. And there's a guy on the other end, and he's like, Jim, are you messing around? Jim.
Dude.
Is that a joke, Jim? What are you doing?
Man. Nah, if you're on a security patrol, I don't care where you work, you take something like that coming through your walkie serious.
Somebody says, I need help. I'm going to be murdered. You might want to call the police. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Get the 5-0.
So her attempt at notifying someone ends kind of disappointingly.
Yeah.
And Dennis is back.
Yeah. But we do see another little flashback with Casey on a hunting trip with her dad. I'm going to give a big trigger warning here. We see another flashback with little Casey on a hunting trip. With her dad not around, Uncle John starts wanting to play. He strips down to his underwear and tells Casey to take off her clothes because animals don't wear clothes. And later, John emerges from behind a rock and we see Casey holding a rifle at him. He manages to take it back from her so that she doesn't pull the trigger. But I gotta say, I know it would have messed her up for the rest of her life, but I really wish she would have. It was a really messed up scene, and that stuff's not funny, and it was just really, it's really messed up.
Yeah.
That's why Casey is as strong as she is, because she's been dealing with pain her entire life. Claire and Marcia attempt to escape using a wire to unlock the door from outside of Marcia's room because she found a clothes hanger. They're unsuccessful. It's very realistic on the coat hanger and lock though. You see it it's a whole 5 minute series inside the film where she's trying to hook it and she gets it a little
Just
bit
getting
and
more frustrated.
yeah,
And then
it's
just pop
I think they did
almost.
really good on that, Dr. Fletcher got about 56 emails saying that they need help and that Dr. Fletcher needs to go Kevin or that Dennis is out of control. So she goes to Kevin's home and she's greeted by Dennis. Dennis just wants to be accepted and Dr. Fletcher tells Dennis, she thinks that they're extraordinary. And you see another expression on McAvoy's face that shows the sincerest amount of pride that one can have. And he invites her inside.
She validated his entire existence, and you can see that even he doesn't always appreciate himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So while they're inside of Kevin's quote unquote house, they continue to discuss the beast as well as the rest of the horde. I don't think we've used that term yet, but the horde is what they call the negative personalities inside the group. So like Dennis, Miss Patricia, the beast.
Yeah.
It
Just kind of
was
messed up.
Dennis, Barry, Patricia, and Hedwig. I'm sorry. Are the horde. And Dr. Fletcher then becomes genuinely terrified. She says there's no way that the beast can be real because Kevin's like, I've seen him. You can't tell me he's not real. I've seen him. What are you talking about? I know what he looks
My
like.
homie.
He owes me $12.
We play Xbox every day.
And
Okay.
she's like, that's not possible. There has to be limits.
Then he just crumples.
Yep.
I'm really sorry you think that. I
Um,
love his transformation scene.
but right before that, she had ran and she had seen Claire inside the closet, and Claire has been laying down and trapped in this closet for so long because she was the first one to go into the closet, and she's like, "Are you real?" Which is messed up. Like, how many things has she hallucinated while she's been just in that closet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Dehydrated and hungry and scared.
Yep, it's really crazy. So
She didn't even get to eat.
Mm-mm.
So we find Casey free inside Kevin's domicile, and she finds a laptop with videos on every one of Kevin's personalities. She sees one called Orwell who discusses philosophy and another named Jade who is diabetic. My question is why would he have all these video files of his personalities? And they were all on the desktop. There was nothing else on the desktop. It was just 24 personalities or 23 personalities. But it is cool. She watched all the videos and we know that Casey's smart and she saw the keys in the video underneath the hat on the hat rack. And so she walks over and she pulls off the hat rack and there's the keys. And I gotta say, she's the smartest captive victim I've ever seen in any film, like ever. Out
Super
of all,
observant.
just awesome.
For sure. She's got all the survival in her, man. Like she's rolling 20s. She's controlling her dice, like she knows what's up. She knows how
She's a
to
beast.
play these people.
Yeah. Dennis goes to an abandoned like train car and he transforms into the beast. He is significantly taller and stronger than any other identity. My like second favorite shot in this movie is when McAvoy is standing on the train and he's turning into the beast. It's just so cool.
He's giant. Like we see it before, and he's like kind of flabby and really like maybe below average height, and then he's irking and just crumpled on the train floor, like holding onto the seats in the middle of the aisle, and then he just after all of like he's screaming, he is screaming in pain, and then he
Mhm.
stands up and he's like 8 feet tall in that train car, and you can just see the muscles like on his back and his shoulders just like pushed out, and he's
He's so
tight. I
fast.
think I think you noticed something about the police. I don't remember what you said, but the police saw him at some point. I think he had to
Yeah,
take the
the
dog.
police the police see him as he's he like bolts like Usain bolts like whoo, 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 out
Yeah.
of there, and then like the police are with a dog and the dog is like rah, 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 rah. And the cop says that he only barks like that with animals, but he was
Mm.
barking at the beast, and that's just it's another thing. He changes his scent to an animalistic scent when he becomes the beast.
Just so
'Cause
many changes.
Mm-hmm.
it's all of that part of the personality and how they're saying they're changing their brain chemistry with these personalities.
Yep. He returns home and he finds Dr. Fletcher writing on a piece of paper. She grabs a small knife as he crawls on the wall and grabs her. Dr. Fletcher starts trying to stab him, but the knife breaks, and the beast squeezes Dr. Fletcher until her spine snaps, killing her. It's a really gruesome scene to watch. I don't think I've ever seen anybody be squeezed to death. It's real gnarly. The blade
Yeah.
breaks
Yeah.
on the beast's skin, which is also very interesting.
It's so cool.
It
Mhm.
just snaps right now.
And he looks gnarly. His veins are all popping out and stuff.
And they're like black.
Yeah.
His
Casey,
eyes,
It
bro,
looks
his
painful, like
eyes.
continually.
it
He was
does.
always pushing out blood out of his mouth. His eyes were all bulged up and his veins in his eyes were popping and shit. It was intense.
It was. Casey gets out and tries to find the other girls. She finds Marcia dead with her stomach having been ripped out. Casey then finds Claire alive. But all of a sudden, she gets dragged as the beast starts eating her. Bro, when I
Mm-mm.
saw him eating the girls, I would have dipped. Like, I would have dipped. So Casey
She
kind of
stayed there.
stands there for for a couple of seconds to see what's going on, even takes a few steps forward. And it's like, nah, that was the
Nah,
only
she's
dumb
dead.
decision you
Time to
made.
go.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe because it's your first time seeing cannibalism and it's right in front of you in a very horrific way.
It's gnarly,
But
Oh,
man.
that's true. Her
like
brain might have just
shock.
been blocking her from it, and she just couldn't make sense of it for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't
Casey
know.
Casey kind of ends up in, I guess, like the main or living room area of the domicile, and she finds a note, and it's that note that Dr. Fletcher wrote on, and it says, "Say his name, Kevin Wendell Crumb." The beast finds Casey, and the sound effects for the beast breathing are awesome. Like it's just a crazy noise.
Sounds
And
like an animal, like a
it
horse.
it does. It's so amp, or like a werewolf or something.
She's
It's
just so
so
amped up.
yeah. he starts climbing the walls on all fours, like, oh my God. So Casey just starts like repeatedly shouting, Kevin Wendell Crumb, Kevin Wendell Crumb, Kevin Wendell Crumb. And it makes him like climb down from the walls, and he like reverts back. We briefly see a flashback of Kevin's mother yelling at him as a child by saying his full name and telling him he's made a mess. And Kevin seems to have had an awful childhood, and I know from personal experiences that middle hangers are awful to be spanked with. Kevin's mom had one in her hand, and it looked like she was going to use it. Present day Kevin has no memory of what he's done. Kevin's been asleep for 2 years. As Casey tells him he killed Dr. Fletcher, Claire, and Marcia, he tells Casey there's a gun in one of the cabinets and that she has to kill him.
He just has no will to live.
None. He sleeps so completely because he just can't live with it. The major identities start to take control all at once. And when McAvoy just cycles through all of the personalities, it's really insane. Like it's really insane. I don't like it when movies do stuff like that because it's always really overacted. But McAvoy did so well. I didn't lose my immersion in the movie. And he really is just flipping from personality to personality to personality. It's really cool.
Hedwig, he finally, he pops into the light like he says he can, because he can do it whenever he wants. So everyone's like trying to flick her in and stop her from killing Kevin. And then Hedwig just is just like, okay, I want to step in now. And then he's just talking. He's just like, they're gonna believe in me now. They're gonna, or something. They're
No one's
gonna,
gonna make fun of me anymore.
yeah, no one's gonna make fun of me anymore. No one's gonna mess with me. And you'll see now. And then he's like, I'm gonna give the light back to Dennis and Patricia. Okay, bye bye.
Ah,
And then he comes back and he's like, look, you can scream his name all you want now. Kevin, we put him asleep very far away now, where he won't hear you.
Yeah. And then Dennis is like, all right, now it's time for the beast to come out. And then Casey takes off, like right as the beast starts changing again. And the pupil
Yeah.
dilation when he turns into the beast is actually really wild. Miss Patricia makes a comment too during this time where she says that they want 10 to 12 victims next time. This is just a start. Whoa.
is he powering up on the souls of children? I don't understand.
It's
Maybe he
crazy.
just wanted a slow start. Ease into the kidnapping business.
Casey finds some shells and loads them into the gun. The beast starts crawling up on the ceiling and starts taking out the lights, leaving Casey with no sight to shoot at him. The beast attacks. When the beast knocked Casey over, he took a big old chomp out of her leg. But she gets away. She closes herself in a cage and loads the gun with more shells. The beast starts bending the bars to get back in.
Dude,
And
it's
is
so
like
wild.
blood is coming in between his teeth, and
His
it's
eyes are
intense.
bleeding. Like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane.
and she's got
Um,
off a couple of shots on him, and they've just glanced off of him.
yeah.
Yeah, we get to see it. Like, there's just skin removed there. That's it. All the meat is there to still.
At some
So,
point when they were running, her last shirt or second to last shirt gets ripped off.
mhm. And we find out that Casey cuts herself and she has scars all over her body. And the beast sees that and he notices it. And we see another flashback showing little Casey after her father's funeral and John telling her he will be her new guardian. I want to do awful things to her uncle. And him saying you aren't going to give me any trouble, are you? Is so damn gross.
Man.
Um, eh, eh, it's the the beast then proclaims that Casey is pure-hearted, and he leaves her alone, saying only through pain can you achieve your greatness. The impure are untouched, the unburned, the unslain. Those who have not been torn have no value in themselves, no place in this world. They are asleep. You are different from the rest. Your heart is pure. Rejoice. The broken are the more evolved. Rejoice. It's great.
It's oof.
I have the whole quote. I said the whole quote because it's one of my favorites. It's really powerful.
It's wild. She's just standing there crying because what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
He just saunters off.
Yeah, he
and
just leaves.
he's
He's
like,
like,
okay, I'm gonna go
I'm
snack on
out.
someone else now.
uh
What?
Not long after, well, we don't know how long in time it was for Casey, but not long after for us, a man goes downstairs and finds Casey. He's like it's like he looks like he just got there to start his day, and he's smoking that like beginning of the day square. He sees her and he picks her up and he carries her outside to safety, and she's looking around and she sees like a bunch of animals and enclosures, and they walk up to this security hubby, and this guy's like, call the police, we found a girl down there. And you see this look on his face like, oh no, it was
Oh
real. And that was definitely the guy that was on the radio.
man, this oh
Like, bro, you got
dude's gonna
fired.
get fired.
Fired, sued, everything.
Medics arrive and they take Casey, and police show up and they start taking pictures and chronologing the crime scene. And I really love the shot of all the toothbrushes. This is like a shot of a sink, and
Yeah.
it's just 23 toothbrushes, you know, and
It's
and
like,
then there's
man,
and then it shows like a shot of the living room, and you see like a clothing rack, and it's got all these different crazy types of different clothing, and it's really cool way to show how different they all were.
Yeah.
they each carved out a little bit of their personalities in the home.
Right, they all had a little bit of home. It's I find it interesting that Hedwig has his own room. You know, I think he was created, Hedwig, because of all of the abuse, and then all the other personalities took over. So Kevin never really got a childhood. And I feel like Hedwig was created to give Kevin like his childhood back.
Some way to experience it. And
We also see Casey sitting in the back of a police cruiser. A female police officer says that your uncle is here, and are you ready to go? And
She just stared
Casey
down.
learned from this experience. Let me not cry. Okay. Casey learned from this experience, and she took it with her. And you could see on her face that she's about to tell the police what she's been dealing with since she was
I
a
hope
little
so.
girl.
I so hope so, because oh my gosh.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. And
Nah, go through all of that and then go back home for
yeah,
that?
no, it
No.
really
I'm
hurt me
done.
that Casey was like, we were watching all these
She
flashes
was
of Casey's
little.
life, and it really hurt me that she was still living with that piece of garbage. Kevin is somewhere by himself with the horde controlling him completely now, and Patricia says that the beast will protect them now. The last scene is in a diner. There are people watching a news report of what Kevin did. The anchor woman mentions how the beast identity displays characteristics of the animals in the zoo where he worked. A patron mentions that this case is similar to a man in a wheelchair from about 15 years ago. She couldn't remember his name, but the man next to her replies, Mr. Glass. We see that it's David, Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable, in a surprise cameo. And we cut to one of the coolest credit scenes I've ever seen, where it is 23
25.
25 individual credit scenes. Um,
Boom, 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 boom.
all next to each other in a grid, 6x4, and then the main one coming up through the middle like normal.
I'd have to look closer to see if like any of the names are changed for
right. If
Jane's
like McAvoy is
role,
somebody different in each one.
each one.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they did because that would be awesome.
I personally, out of the 3 movies in this series, I would say that this one is by far my favorite. I've always had a bit of a fascination with DID or multiple personality disorder. Give it definitely I'm probably gonna give this one a 5 out of 5 because it's one of my all-time favorite films. What about you, Kendi? What do you think?
I think it's a strong superhero, not anti-hero. I don't know what to call it. Villain origin story. It's wild ride.
Okay, I won't let you down. I love that I love the superhero the supervillain build up and the real villain that he is becoming out of this. But I like would have appreciated a lot more depth with the rest of the personalities.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
because of that, I must say like a 3.5 or like a 3.9, like
You
in
wanted
between
more
there.
screen time?
Disrespectful.
I did, yeah.
Disrespectful.
He's like, no, we didn't get to see everyone.
And then either of you have any favorite scenes that you want to share?
When we're first meeting Dr. Fletcher, she's walking up this beautiful stairwell to her office, and we're just rising up the spiral of it. And it's just a gorgeous stairwell. It's got great lighting, and it's just a cool shot watching her go around the stairs. And we see it again later, but this time coming facing the ceiling going downwards, and there's this like I don't know, just really cool stained glass in the ceiling for a skylight. And we also see Dr. Fletcher walking down the street talking on the phone with another doctor, it seems, telling her, like, cut this whole thing off. What are you doing? They're lesser than us. They have mental issues. And the scene is just beautiful. It looks like a bustling street with autumn leaves falling everywhere, and it looks a little chilly, but it's like almost you can feel it and you've been there. And she's just walking down the street through it, but the camera stays still so you can see the shot. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's a dope shot for sure. What about you, Kendi?
Really the opening scene, just to highlight again how separate Casey is from everyone else right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just always beautiful how the discordance with the situations could be shown
Without any lines.
without any lines because it'll be off center or through the doorway, like you mentioned earlier, through the slats of the vent and through the slats of the locker when the other girl was trying to hide.
Mm-hmm.
It's more how they chose to not show you a room or not how they chose to obscure.
Yes, agreed completely.
I love it.
I agree completely. Well, squad, we had a lot of fun doing this movie, and we've got one more to go. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And as always, I have been Tyler.
I've been Matt.
I'm Kendi.
And we killed it.
We Killin' It podcast is written by us, Tyler Mislick, Kendra Parrish, and Matthew Johnson. Video is shot and edited by Matt, and it is produced, and the sound is done by Tyler. Thank you for listening.